I signed up as a boy, ended up working as a girl. Ethan had always been the laid-back type, coasting through his mid-20s with an easy charm and a knack for avoiding serious responsibility. Living with his best friend Matt in their perpetually cluttered apartment, he juggled a part-time gig at a tech firm while half-heartedly searching for a real job. Stability felt like a distant concept, something other people worried about. But when he saw the job posting for an administrative role at an upscale fashion boutique, it caught his eye. Competitive pay, room for growth. It sounded like the kind of opportunity he couldn't afford to ignore. He applied on a whim, figuring he'd stand out for his adaptability, if nothing else. To his surprise, he was called for an interview the next day. The boutique was sleek and intimidating, with glossy white floors and rows of designer clothes he didn't dare touch. The owner, Vanessa, was poised and impeccably dressed, her sharp eyes sizing him up the moment he walked in. "You've got a certain potential," she said after a few minutes of polite questioning. "I like your energy. But this role requires more than just admin work. It's about representing the brand." Ethan nodded along, not entirely sure what she meant, but eager to seem agreeable. When she offered him the job pending a final orientation, he walked out feeling triumphant. Maybe this was the break he needed, a chance to prove himself in a world far removed from his usual routine. A week later, he arrived for his first day, dressed in the business casual attire he thought appropriate for the role. But the moment he stepped into Vanessa's office, something felt off. She greeted him warmly, but her expression held a hint of mischief. "Ethan," she began, her tone as smooth as silk, "we have a unique vision for this position. Our boutique prides itself on innovation, on challenging traditional boundaries. You'll need to embrace that to truly succeed here." He tilted his head, confused. "I'm not sure I follow. I thought this was mostly admin work." Her smile widened. "It's more than that. We want you to embody the spirit of the boutique, its fluidity, its boldness. That means embracing a feminine presentation while on the floor. You have the perfect look for it." Ethan froze. Was this a joke? But Vanessa's demeanor was serious, her gaze unwavering. Before he could formulate a response, she gestured toward a rack of clothes and a vanity table set up in the corner. "This is part of your uniform," she said matter-of-factly. "Don't worry, Lily will help you get started." Lily, one of the boutique stylists, appeared at his side with a gentle smile. "Come on, Ethan. It's not as scary as it sounds." Every fiber of his being screamed to back out, to walk away, and forget this ever happened. But the promise of a steady paycheck, the glimmer of hope for stability, kept him rooted to the spot. Swallowing his pride, he nodded reluctantly and followed Lily to the dressing room. The transformation was surreal. Lily guided him through every step: foundation, contouring, eyeshadow, lipstick. His reflection became unrecognizable, each stroke of makeup reshaping him into someone entirely new. When she handed him a blouse and skirt, he hesitated, staring at the fabric as if it might bite him. "You'll look great," Lily assured him. "Trust me." When he finally stepped out, Vanessa's eyes lit up. "Perfect," she said, circling him like an artist admiring her masterpiece. "You've exceeded my expectations." Ethan felt a strange mix of embarrassment and intrigue. The outfit fit him unnervingly well, and the makeup was flawless. He didn't look like a man pretending to be a woman. He looked like someone who belonged here. The realization unsettled him. His first few weeks at the boutique were a whirlwind. Customers complimented his unique style, and he found himself slipping into the role with surprising ease. He learned to style outfits, give fashion advice, and even enjoyed the camaraderie with his coworkers. But as time went on, he couldn't ignore the growing unease within him. The lines between his real identity and this curated persona blurred, leaving him questioning who he truly was. The breaking point came when Vanessa asked him to represent the boutique at a high-profile fashion gala.
"You're a star," she said.
"Everyone will be talking about you." Dressed in an elegant gown and styled to perfection, Ethan became the center of attention at the event. Strangers showered him with praise, calling him stunning and confident. But their admiration felt hollow, like they were applauding a character rather than a person. Near the end of the night, he overheard a hushed conversation. "Isn't that Ethan? The guy who used to work in tech?" one woman whispered. "What's he doing here, dressed like that?" The words stung more than he expected. For the first time, he felt the weight of what he'd sacrificed, not just his comfort but his sense of self. As he stared at his reflection in a gilded mirror, the elegant stranger staring back seemed more like a mask than a revelation. Who was he now? And how much further was he willing to go before he lost himself entirely? The whispered words cut through the gallus hum, striking Ethan with the force of a storm he hadn't prepared for. His breath quickened, and his heart pounded in his chest. It was as though the shimmering mask he had painstakingly worn was being stripped away by the murmurs of the crowd. Their admiring gazes suddenly felt suffocating, their praise a cruel joke. In that instant, he realized he wasn't in control anymore. This persona, elegant, poised, and utterly foreign, wasn't just a disguise. It was becoming his identity. The applause and the allure of success had drawn him deeper into a life that felt both liberating and entrapping. Ethan's grip on who he was and who he wanted to be was slipping. As the night stretched on, the weight of the whispers grew unbearable. Ethan excused himself from the opulent crowd, slipping out into the crisp night. The cold air stung his cheeks, grounding him in a way the bright lights and murmured flattery never could. He stared at the distant city skyline, its sharp outlines blurring as his thoughts tangled. He couldn't keep living like this, not for the paycheck, the fleeting admiration, or even the illusion of a new beginning. Pretending had given him glimpses of possibility, but it had also stolen the core of his truth. Returning to the boutique the next morning, Ethan stepped into Vanessa's office with resolve etched into every movement. She looked up from her desk, her usual confident smile faltering when she saw the intensity in his eyes. "I've thought a lot about this," Ethan began, his voice firm but calm. "And I can't do it anymore. This person you've created, she's not me. I need to figure out who I am on my terms, not yours." Vanessa's expression softened, and for a moment, she seemed almost proud of him. "I knew this day might come," she said, leaning back in her chair. "You've done more than I ever expected, Ethan. You'll find your way." He left the boutique for the last time, stepping out into the bright sunlight with a mixture of relief and trepidation. The city buzzed around him, and for the first time, it didn't feel like a backdrop to someone else's story. It felt like his. Ethan's old life didn't welcome him back. It wasn't waiting in the same form as he had left it. But that was okay. The boutique had shown him parts of himself he hadn't dared to explore before. He wasn't running away from those experiences. He was reclaiming them, shaping them into something uniquely his. In the months that followed, Ethan began to chart his own path. He experimented with self-expression, not for a job, not to fit into someone else's vision, but to explore what felt right for him. Slowly, he found a new balance, blending the confidence he'd discovered with the authenticity he had fought to reclaim. And in those quiet moments, as he stood before the mirror, it wasn't about who he had been or who the world wanted him to be. It was about who he was becoming. For the first time, Ethan was free.